She was 23, alone, 180 feet in the air, and she wasn't coming down. For over 2 years, Julia Butterfly Hill lived in a redwood tree, facing storms, helicopters, threats, and the crushing weight of isolation. Why? Because the tree was marked for death, and so was anyone who got in the way. This isn't a story about nature. It's a battle for survival, for purpose, and for one towering symbol of resistance.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dead or Survive. I am your host, Rob Riches, and with me always is my lovely wife, Lazy Bum Cheryl.
I am not a lazy bum. I am Cheryl Riches. I am your other host, and I am not a lazy bum.
Lazy Bum. Her story today is going to be absolutely amazing. I have not heard it. I know nothing about it, but I know it took her an entire week.
I feel like you just don't realize how much time I dedicate to this.
I
It's
know.
not even that long in the whole grand scheme of things. This story isn't that long.
But it took you a week. This should be amazing.
Yeah, they always are.
Well, we are one day away from holidays, so we are going to have some fun together, as you can tell.
Yeah, we have to work one measly stinking day.
Yep, that was probably your fault, too. You probably wanted a day off throughout the year and made me change them.
I didn't make you do anything.
Aiming you.
That's usual.
Got to hang out with one of the kiddos today.
Yep, that was good.
Yep, little din-din. Little dinner in London.
Well, mattress recon.
Yes, took care of a mattress, so life is good. That is done. We have another child coming down this week.
Yep.
They're putting me to work.
Yeah, we're going to watch them change some brakes.
How rude. You're going to help, not watch.
Of course we're going to help.
Helping does not mean standing there with a glass of wine going, honey, that's not help.
That's not?
No.
Oh, that's weird.
No. Anything else happened amazing this week? I feel like something did and we're missing something.
Well, your aunt came to visit.
Oh, yes. My aunt came down from Barrie.
Yes.
That was delightful.
Uh-huh. It was good. It was good to see her.
Good to see her. That's it. That's all we got.
That's all we got.
We're boring.
We are, indeed.
Absolutely boring. Well, according to statistics, you guys don't like listening to us talk anyways. That's what my wife tells me.
It is. It's true. You don't want to hear our jibber jabber. Jibber jabber.
I disagree. I think you guys want to hear from us. I think you have fun. However, I'm going to give my wife this one. You can email us at
deadersurvivepodcast@gmail.com
and let us know if you'd rather listen to us talk jibber jabber at the beginning or not. We do listen to your feedback, which is why I have a new mic. Yes. And my wife yells at me for yelling.
Yes, these are all true statements.
So we listen.
Uh-huh.
We try to improve. I mean, when the bar is really, really low, it's easy to improve.
And in the meantime, we're jibber.
We're going to jibber jabber until somebody tells us to shut up. So there. All right.
Okay.
You have a story? Of course you do. It took a week.
It took a week.
Do you have your drink?
Uh-huh.
Well, chop, chop, lollipop.
Okay. I'm going to tell you about Julia Butterfly Hill and Luna. So Julia Lorraine Hill was born on February 18th, 1974. Her father was a traveling minister, and he took the family with him as he moved from town to town. The family was very poor, and until around the age of 10, Julia lived in a 32-foot camper with her father, mother, and 2 of her brothers. Julia was the middle child. The family was deeply religious, and the children were homeschooled. While traveling with her family, Julia often explored rivers by campgrounds. And at the age of 7, during a family hike, a butterfly landed on Julia's fingers and remained with her throughout the journey. Since that day, she adopted the nickname Butterfly and chose to carry it with her throughout her life.
Well, I was going to ask how she got that name, but now we know.
I told you. See, you tell me I don't do research, and there it is. Proof.
One time. One time does not make it so.
In August of 1996, while Julia was in middle school, the family stopped traveling and put down roots in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Arkansas?
Yes.
Was her dad the guy that blew up the tower?
No.
The bomber?
No.
Oh.
There's nothing like that in this story. You might actually like this one. There's no murders, no rapes, nothing terrible.
Boring.
In August of 1996, Julia was in a car wreck that shoved the steering wheel into her skull, and it changed the course of her life forever.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Why? How? Was she driving? What's going on?
Yeah, she was driving. She was the designated driver for a friend who had been drinking, and her friend's car was hit from behind by a drunk driver. It took almost a year before she was able to walk and talk normally again. And at that moment, she realized that everything she had once taken for granted was nearly lost, prompting her to shift her focus and dedicate her life to what truly mattered. So,
me?
No, not you. No, although you were born, you were almost the same age. Okay, where was I? She believed the way to make this change was to start a spiritual journey. While she was getting better, she saw that her life was not in the right balance. She finished high school early at 16 and began working nonstop ever since, first as a waitress and then later as a restaurant manager. She had been too focused on her job, success, and material objects. The accident made her realize how crucial the present moment is, and she decided to do whatever she could to make a positive impact in the future. She said the steering wheel in her head, both figuratively and literally, steered her in a new direction in her life. Her first plan was to go abroad and see the world. But as chance would have it, some friends of her were planning a trip to California. There were 4 of them, but one of them backed out. They could no longer afford to pay the gas with just 3 of them. So they asked Julia to join them. So she hopped in the van and they headed west. While they were traveling, they chatted with a stranger along the way. The man told them that if they were traveling in that direction anyways, they should stop in Stafford to see the giant redwoods. Makes me a little bit sad because we were supposed to see the giant redwoods.
And whose fault was that?
COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not mine. Okay, anyways. So the group planned a trip to the state park where they would go and see them. However, when they arrived, they realized that dogs were not allowed on the trail and they had a dog with them. Instead, they planned on driving through the nearby community to see what they could from the streets. But that wasn't good enough for Julia. She wanted more. She wanted to see these trees up close and personal. So she decided to go on the trail by herself. This kind of blows my mind a little bit. The group agreed to wait for her for 15 minutes, but after that, they were carrying on their journey. They were just going to leave her.
Come on.
And she was like, okay. I mean, I guess. So I was trying to rationalize this to myself. Like, why would anybody do that to her friends? But her original plan was to travel abroad by herself and see the world. So it didn't really bother her. She was like, all right, if I'm not out in 15 minutes, can you just like leave my belongings with the ranger and I'll grab them from there? So they all agreed. And she went into the trail, and as she entered the forest, she immediately fell in love. She felt like this is where she belonged. And she stayed.
She lived in the woods.
She didn't live in the woods.
She hollowed out a tree and lived in the woods.
Not yet. No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So it's coming?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
She hollowed out a tree and live in there?
What?
Did she hollow out a tree?
She didn't hollow out a tree.
She find a hollowed out tree?
Just can we listen to the story and you'll find out? There's that.
It's a little boring.
It's not boring. Don't you say that. We'll go over there and punch your nose.
Violence, and it's recorded.
Okay, that's not boring, is it?
No. Finally.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little background information about this area. So the area of Stafford, there was a lumber company called Pacific Lumber Company. They were clear cutting the area, including all of the giant redwoods.
What?
Yeah. The 80s, right? Or 90s, I guess 90s. Some of this clear cutting was happening directly above Stafford. The root systems of these redwoods on the hillside provided protection for the people below from dangerous landslides that plagued the area. But the company overlogged the mountain above their homes, and it caused a landslide which buried much of their town in debris. One witness said the thing was like a tidal wave, a tsunami of stumps and trees, and a redwood stump as big as a Peterbilt or a Mack tractor, and they were floating on top of this float just like marshmallows. No one was hurt in the slide, but 8 homes were destroyed. The lumber...
Then somebody was hurt.
Right, absolutely. The lumber company, of course, denied any wrongdoing and claimed that it was an act of God. And then they moved on to their next area to start clear cutting there.
They let them get away with that?
At this point, yeah, they were just doing whatever they want. It was their property. And they said the reason that the landslide happened is because they had like a huge amount of rain that year, which is true, they did. But every other time there was a lot of rain, they had these root systems in place that would save the landslides from happening. Yeah. Activists in the area took note of what was happening, and they weren't happy about it. So while still on her trip, Julia came across a reggae fundraiser to save the forests. She learned about a group of frontliners who had been rotating tree sitters in and out of the giant redwoods in Humboldt County every couple of days to deter Pacific Company loggers. Julia was sold. She went home, sold all of her prized possessions so that she could get any money that she could, and went back to join the cause. And upon her return...
She found all the trees were gone.
No.
Oh.
She reached out to the Environmental Protection Information Center, which provided her with a contact number for a base camp where activists were dedicated to preserving the redwoods. Upon contacting the base camp, Julia learned that the camp was shutting down for the season. She got there at the wrong time of year. Nevertheless, the contact person also notified Julia about a protest taking place in the nearby town of Eureka.
Eureka! Why have I heard of that place?
I don't know. I have too, but I feel like there's more than one Eureka.
Oh.
I don't know for sure.
Because you didn't do any research?
Because I didn't do geography research.
Look what I found out.
Despite its lack of organization, the protest provided Julia with the opportunity to establish connections, including one with Shakespeare, a resident of the activist base camp.
You can't trick me. Shakespeare was dead.
Not this one. They all had to come up with code names.
And somebody came up with Shakespeare?
He liked Shakespeare. He's a hippie.
Nobody liked Shakespeare.
He did. Shakespeare was affiliated with Earth First, a direct action campaign initiated in 1980 in response to the devastation of the redwoods in Humboldt County. He briefed Julia on the culture within the base camp, which involved adopting code names as part of their practices. Naturally, Julia chose Butterfly. After learning about the camp's culture, Julia made the decision to remain at the camp for as long as she could contribute. At first, there was nothing for her to do. Winter was coming, and most protests stopped due to the bad weather. And because Julia was completely inexperienced, they didn't have a lot of tasks for her. But Julia was tenacious, and she would check in often, looking for any way that she could help. A few weeks later, that day finally came. A man at the base camp requested volunteers to participate in a tree sit. Organizers were looking for people to sit at the top of one of these giant trees for a week or so that the lumber company was forced to leave it alone, because they obviously can't cut a tree down with people inside of it.
Inside of it or sitting at the very top? Because those things are tall.
Sitting at the very top. Yep. It also protected the surrounding trees because they couldn't cut down a tree that may hit them when it fell. Julia immediately volunteered. They probably wouldn't have picked her because of her inexperience, especially this time of the year when the weather could get so nasty, but because they had absolutely nobody else, she won by default. The tree she was going to go and sit with was named Luna. Luna is a very special tree. She is over 1,000 years old. She is humongous, 40 feet around, and at 200 feet tall, she towers above all of the other trees in the area. She can be seen for miles. This tree had seen it all. It had survived being struck by lightning, lived through forest fires, and insane windstorms. Because of this, there are large black scars along her trunk, but she is resilient. When Julia arrived, she saw that there was a blue paint mark also on her truck. This was an indication that she would be cut down soon by the Pacific Lumber Company. Once the protest started in the tree, they had to have somebody present at all times. If the lumber company saw that the tree was left unattended, they would have immediately taken the opportunity to go and cut it down while nobody was protecting it. Julie got strapped into a harness and a climbing rope, and in all her inexperience, headed up the tree. She made it to the platform, which was 180 feet up the tree. As you can imagine, being up that high, it was very windy. The platform was only 6 feet by 4 feet. She shared the platform that night with Shakespeare and another man called Major Resin. Of course, the first night that Julia was there was a big storm, because why wouldn't there be? There was a tarp that covered the platform, but because it was so windy, it was blown up and down and left her exposed to the storm. The storm continued for the next 6 days. On the 6th day, Julia got a relief volunteer and she headed back down the tree. She was brought back to the activist support house. This is where a lot of these activists got arrested. So after they got out of jail, they would go to the support house and they'd be given a bed and a meal and, a pat on the back, good job, whatever. Anyways, that's where she went. She spent 1 day here, and then somebody came and asked her if she would go back, and she agreed. At this point, she was relieving Major Resin and Shakespeare. Julia stayed up the tree for another 5 days, at which point she got sick. She had a bad fever and chills, but because there was no phone up there and no other way of contacting anybody, she had to stay up there until somebody came and checked her. She was very ill for a few days until somebody came and relieved her, and on the hike out, she was vomiting and almost passed out 4 times. It took a couple of weeks for Julia to recover from whatever illness that was, and while she recuperated, she did mostly administrative duties. In the meantime, the loggers were getting a lot closer to Luna, with the tree sitter still in place. They began threatening to blow the tree up from the bottom. Their scare tactics worked on one of the tree sitters, who came down and ran. I should note here as well that if the tree sitters were caught on the ground, it was likely that they would be arrested. So when it was time to relieve one sitter for another, they had to sneak around and do it at night because technically they were trespassing on private property. Julia came up with a plan. Her plan was to go up into the tree with plenty of supplies, including a cell phone, and spend longer amounts of time in the tree. Another sitter named Almond agreed to go with her. He agreed to go up the tree and stay there for a month. They snuck to the tree at night, almost being caught by a logger, but they made it. When they did arrive, they expected to see only one person up in the tree, but there were 2 people up there. And they had to sleep with 4 people on the platform that night.
One fall off?
Nobody fell off. You really want somebody to fall out of this tree.
Big tree. Somebody's going to fall.
The next morning, when the other 2 people were leaving, they accidentally took an extra harness with them too, which left Julia and Almond with only one harness between them.
Somebody's going to fall.
You would think, right? One harness. The 2 people that were leaving were in the middle of climbing down Luna when they heard axes hitting the tree. The loggers had begun chopping at Luna. The 2 sitters were on their way down and they started screaming and begging them to stop. They told them that there were 2 more people in the tree. Almond took the one remaining harness and went to investigate. They had ropes set up from Luna to surrounding trees like tight ropes.
Why?
I don't know why. I think mostly so that if they chopped down Luna, it would also pull down other trees. I don't really know all of the logistics, or maybe they just needed extra space. They're at the top of a tree. Anyways, or maybe it was just for lookouts, because that's what Almond does. He went out on one of these tight ropes to get a better look. But Almond also didn't really know what he was doing because he was also very inexperienced. And he saw a logger climbing the tree straight.
You could tell he was inexperienced.
How can you tell?
Pick the codename Almond.
It's not like a really tough guy name, is it?
No.
It's almost like granola. That's where when I heard Almond, I thought, oh, he's trying to get granola across. I don't know.
I thought it was a girl. I thought it was going to be a butterfly and almond up there.
No, it's a boy.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I'm disappointed in his code name.
Anyways, this logger was heading straight for Almond and had every intention of coming onto that rope to get him. He even said, I'm coming to get you.
I'm going to come get you. I'm going to come get you. Yes, I am.
I don't think it was like that. I think it was like, I'm going to come get you. Almond started yelling that the rope wouldn't support both of them. So
he called him fat?
I don't think that's the intention at all.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Anyways.
Body shamer.
So the logger, not wanting to risk his own life Instead, he cut the rope.
Probably because he was insulted they called him fat.
The problem was that when Almond had tied himself off, he didn't do it properly because of his inexperience.
And he fell.
He fell.
I told you.
But he didn't fall very far.
What?
Luckily,
those are big tall trees. You told me 1,000 feet.
Yeah. Luckily, he fell onto a limb that was only a few feet below him, and he was okay. But understandably, he was pissed.
Yeah, but your story was about to be more better. More better?
Just like your English?
Just like my English, it was going to be more better.
He started screaming at the logger. Julia couldn't do anything because she didn't have a harness. She couldn't leave the platform, so she did the only thing she could think of. She took out the cell phone and called the local news station and told them everything that was happening. The logger left, but the fight continued for 12 days.
That's kind of ironic, right? This is in the 90s?
Yeah.
Newspapers printed on
paper. Yeah.
Made from trees.
I didn't think about that, but that is very ironic.
So the newspaper's like, don't cut down the trees. Cut down the trees. We need them. Don't cut down the trees. We really need the paper. Don't do it. We need the paper. Is that what's going on?
Could be. I don't know.
Just checking.
Okay. The fight continued for 12 days before the loggers headed off to another area to start logging. Problem was, when they did cut a tree in the new area, it came right towards Luna, and when it hit, it almost knocked Julia out of the tree.
They did that on purpose.
Probably.
They can aim.
This company is brutal.
You can aim a tree.
I know you can, especially these guys. These guys are very they know what
talented.
They're doing. Yeah. The logger that climbed the tree did it almost effortlessly. So they know what they're doing.
Well, we have a friend that does that.
Yeah, it's true.
Couple friends. Couple of friends. Yes.
Julia decided that it was time to do what a lot of my survivors do. She tried to humanize herself to the loggers. She tried to change their view of her as a hippie tree hugger and make friends with them. She began talking to them and asking about their lives, and at one point she lowered a baggie of granola down to them just in case they were hungry.
Laced with drugs?
No drugs.
Are you sure?
I wouldn't really dispel the hippie.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure. With the granola, she included a photo of herself of when she wasn't living in a tree.
She's a porn star.
She wasn't a porn star.
Oh.
Why would you even say that?
She included a picture of herself. It's like she's baiting them.
No. She was dressed nicely, not wearing hippie-like-ish clothes. She had, she wasn't dirty from sitting in a tree for a month.
Oh, so she was sending down nice pictures of herself.
Right. Look at me. I'm just like you.
Look at me. Look at me.
Anyways.
Eat some granola and look at me.
It mostly worked.
Mm-hmm. Go to a strip joint, eat some popcorn, look at me.
I'm not okay with this.
Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
They weren't friends by any means, but they stopped being so awful to her. They would stop in the tree and be like, is today the day you're coming down? No? Okay, well, we'll try again tomorrow. The weather was also not cooperating at this point. It was awful to live up there. It was cold, the platform was starting to degrade, and most of the tarps were damaged.
Maybe she should have showed the weather a picture of herself.
Not to mention that she had to pee in a jar and pour it over the side.
She was peeing on them. Hi, look at my picture, pee on you. Look at my picture, pee on you.
But she wasn't.
Make up your mind, woman. Either you want to be nice to him or you don't.
By the time the pee, because she was so high up there, by the time the pee reached the ground, it was more like a mist. I don't even know if it was a mist.
That doesn't make it better. That makes it worse. At least if it's chunky, it comes down, you can move. Now it's just misting through the air.
I'm sure she was
probably got in their mouth.
Maybe she waited.
I wonder why she put granola bar down there to get the pee out of their mouth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's what happened, see?
They probably waited until night until they were gone.
You don't know. She peed on them.
She also had to poop in a trash bag.
And throw that on them?
No.
Oh.
She stored the poop in the trash bag in a hole in the tree until a volunteer would come and take it down for her.
She had somebody come and get her poop removed?
Well, what else was she going to do with it?
Just throw it over the side like the pee.
Well, that's not what she did because she's an environmentalist.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Everybody, have you seen the bears running around the woods that pick up their poop? It's so good that they take care of the environment that way for us.
Weeks went by and Almond went home. But Julia
gotta pee.
Julia stayed.
She didn't have to pee anymore. She was mystified.
Oh my God. Earth First, the organization that she had been working for, wanted Julia to come down now too. The weather was becoming too bad, and they didn't want the liability of her staying up there. Julia decided that she was going to stay. She said, I'll resign from the organization so that you're no longer liable, but I'm not coming down. Earth First decided to stick it out, and Shakespeare came back up there to stay with her. One morning, they saw men with vests and badges approaching. These men demanded that they come down. They told them that they would give them 24 hours, and if she came down within those 24 hours, she wouldn't be arrested.
And she said no and peed on them.
No.
Oh.
She did say no at first, but then they said after that 24-hour period was over, the offer would be taken away. They also said that they were going to keep a guard there 24/7, and their supply chain was now cut off. Julia had no intention of coming down, but she also knew that the supplies that they would consume with two of them would last a lot less if there was just one of them up there. So they came up with a plan. Their plan was...
Shakespeare. Who's stuck in the tree with her?
Shakespeare. Julia told them that if Shakespeare came down and she got home safely, he would call her on her cell phone, and if he hadn't been arrested, then she would know it was safe and she would come down too. So Shakespeare went down and they drove him home, and he called Julia and he was like, yeah, I'm okay, fine. And the guards came back and they're like, okay, it's your turn. And she's like,
no, and peed on them.
She's like, nah, I'm good. And she stayed up there. So
they went back to his house, dragged him out, and beat him in front of her.
No.
Well, they're boring.
I'm telling you, there's nothing like that in this story. I tried to do not so dark of an episode. Okay, anyways, the guards were pissed.
Well, yeah.
They began yelling threats at her. Here we go. Maybe this will make you happy because it's a little darker. They started yelling threats at her that they were going to beat her up or rape her. They shone floodlights at her and used foghorns and bugles all night, so she was never able to sleep. But Julia stayed. At one point, Julia got frostbite on her toes. She climbed around the tree a lot to keep her circulation going, but she climbed barefoot so that she'd be super aware of her footing. And with no shoes, no socks on, she got frostbite. Her frostbite did heal, but it was very painful. Another time, the logging company sent a helicopter to fly very close to the tree. The wind it kicked up blew Julia all over the place, and again, she was almost knocked out of the tree. There are some, because the media was involved, there's some amazing photos of her up at the tops of the tree. It looks insane. I don't think I could do it. I don't know. Anyways, because the whole time she was keeping in touch with news outlets and she was videoing everything. But she began running out of supplies because the guards were down there. Julia was just about to give up and come down, but then in the distance, she saw 20 activists approaching the tree. The activists radioed the code that they were close to coming to and they were coming to resupply. Julia lowered a rope halfway down the tree and began singing to distract the guards. Shakespeare then came out of the trees with 19 other people. They were all wearing backpacks, but not all of them had supplies. It was like some Scooby-Doo shit. I am now. Okay, where was I?
So they were Scooby-Dooing it?
They were Scooby-Dooing it. The guards were chasing around after the activists, but one of them made it to the tree and Julia lowered the rope.
And those dang kids and that dog, too.
He quickly attached a bag, and just as the guard jumped up to get it, it was pulled up higher than he could reach. They managed to do this one more time, so Julia now had 2 more full bags of supplies. She was revived and ready to fight.
I have a question.
What?
I wonder what her friends that drove away.
I know. I thought about that too, because she is all over the news and she tells everybody that they were like, yeah, I'm out of here. Bye. That can't look good on them. Yeah. Even if she agreed to it. I don't know.
Well, it's not just even not look, but I mean, I don't know. It's not even about looking good on. I'm just wondering what they were thinking about her. I don't care what they think of, they didn't want to be involved. They didn't want to be involved, whatever. Right. But just wondering if they're going, holy shit, we left her there.
She never came home.
Never came home. She's still in that damn tree. That's a long 15 minutes. God, we didn't wait.
Okay. Anyways, back to Julia. A few days later, a huge storm came through, and it was so bad that the guards were forced to leave. But Julia stayed. It had now been over 100 days since she had left that tree. And now the media was really paying attention because she had actually broken the record for nights spent in a tree.
There's a record for nights spent in a tree?
Yes.
How boring are we as a society that we, it's one thing that we track stats for hockey and football and no, nights slept in a tree.
Yeah. Well, it's important to some people. It was important to Julia.
Apparently.
So. Everybody was reporting her story. CNN did an on-air interview with both Julia and the president of the Pacific Lumber Company. This guy's an idiot. I'm sorry, but this guy's an idiot. In the interview, the president said that Julia was harming the environment because she was taking away a nesting spot from wildlife that they were gonna cut down.
Did she say that?
Yeah, she said, you guys are gonna cut it down. What are you talking about?
You mean there's nesting up there too? Look at all this stuff you guys are going to destroy.
She spent the entire winter up there, and the guards gave up. Then people came to visit her often. She even had celebrities. One of the members of the Grateful Dead came, and there was a big party with singing and partying, and Julia was still up in the tree. She couldn't come down or wreck her record, but she was like trying to do her celebration as much as she could up there. On another night, Woody Harrelson climbed the tree and spent a night with her.
Really?
Yeah. Nuts, right? Julia spent all of that time doing more research. She had a laptop and she was just like researching and trying to be as educated.
How's she getting this shit charged?
Solar. It's all solar powered. By August of 1988, that doesn't seem right. Somewhere I've got a date mixed up. Must be 1998. By August of 1998, I'm going to go with, Julia was nominated as one of the most admired people of America. She spoke with the news and government officials regularly. The fight was so much bigger than Luna now. It was about all of the giant redwoods. There were other protests going on in other areas. A lot of them were inspired by Julia. Unfortunately, at one of the protests, a tree was cut down with a tree sitter still in it, and the activist was crushed. So this brought even more attention to the cause. Julia and the president of the lumber company began negotiations. Eventually, they agreed that the lumber company would not cut down Luna or the forest 200 feet around her. There was a lot of back and forth. Like, they didn't want Julia to be able to talk about it. What's that called when they put they wanted a non-disclosure agreement. They wanted to make a
gag order.
Right. And they wanted it to be like, if she did speak about them, like praising them for their environmental efforts. And she was like, no, that's not going to happen. And also the lumber company wanted to go in and get the trees that were already cut down in that area. Like, they were cut, so they want to take them. And Julia wasn't sure about that either, because when trees are rotting, they're, the whole environmental, they feed into the earth or whatever. So anyways, eventually...
I get that, but, sometimes you have to give a little.
She had to give and she had to take, right? So she didn't give up the whole gag order. She's actually written books about this, but she did allow them to go in and get the logs that had already been felled. With some pushing from the senator at the time. After the other activists died, there was like a lot of media attention, and the senator in the area really pushed the lumber company. So eventually they got to this agreement. Julia had spent 738 days in that tree.
38 days.
Yes. That's insane, right?
In a tree.
Yeah. But now Luna would be protected forever. But like I always say, people suck. So here we go. In November of 2008, vandals snuck up on Luna during the night and used a chainsaw. They cut 32 inches deep and 19 feet around the tree. It was half of the tree. Everybody was furious, including the Pacific Lumber Company, because they had just been through all of this stuff for this tree, right? And somebody decided to go up in the night and try to cut it down.
Well, and it might make it look bad like they did it or something.
Yeah, I think that was probably a lot of it.
Like, we didn't do this.
Right. So the attempt to save Luna was on, and the Pacific Lumber Company actually helped. They had arborists and engineers come and see what they could do. And they ended up installing metal braces and cables to try to save her. Even after all of that, they figured that she would only have 5 years to live. But this is Luna, and she is resilient. And not only is she still living, she has begun to heal, and she is still thriving. Yeah. So that was a pretty good survival story, right?
The tree survived.
So did Julia. Like, she had helicopters flying at her. She had, okay, she had a lot of shit. She survived frostbite. I knew you were going to do this.
You did an entire survival story about a tree.
Yeah, okay, so the tree survived. I think sometimes...
It took you a week to write a survival story about a tree.
Listen. I'm gonna tell
listen,
you,
Linda, listen.
I'm going to tell you something right now. If you didn't like my survival story, you're really not going to like my superhero of the week story.
I quit. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last episode of Dead or Survive with me in it anyways. I hope you have a fantastic week.
I love this superhero story. But you're going to be like, that is not a superhero story. But anyways, it made me laugh, and I'm telling it.
I'm not even over the tree yet. You don't get to start your superhero story. I'm not over yelling at you for the tree yet.
It was a 1,000-year-old tree. It was worth saving.
It was 1,000 years old. It lived.
It lived. Yeah. Like, how many different things did it survive? Why does it have to be about a human?
Tell your stupid story.
Okay, I'm going to. All right. I can't even say this. Okay.
Oh, boy. This is what happens when she drinks vodka instead of wine, people. Just so you know.
Okay. You wouldn't think that the act... I'm sorry.
You all right over there?
You wouldn't think...
This better be amazing.
That the act of biting off a man's toe would be a life-saving act. But that's exactly what happened to Jerry Douthat of Rockford, Michigan. Douthat had been nursing trouble with a toe for months. He hadn't sought any medical attention. The toe became infected, and Douthat's wife insisted he have it checked. Douthat agreed, but decided to bolster his courage first with several beers and 2 giant margaritas. His wife took him home, where he passed out in bed. That's when his terrier, Kiko, took matters into his own hands, or mouth as it were. Kiko chewed most of Douthat's infected toe off as he slept. When he woke up to find his toe gone, he could no longer put off a trip to the hospital. There, doctors found Douthat's blood sugar to be dangerously high, 560, when it should be below 120. They also amputated what was left of his toe. Since the infection went down to the bone, Douthat's undiagnosed diabetes probably caused him not to feel his toe being chewed off. He considered putting Kiko down for his actions, but after considering that the dog inadvertently saved his life, Douthat decided against euthanization. Meanwhile, Douthat is receiving treatment for diabetes and has sworn off alcohol, but he now wears shoes to bed, just in case.
I can't. Superhero is a human. And for all you people out there that read comic books, yes, I know. Superman had a dog, so did Batman. I get it. I know. But come on.
I thought that was the best story I'd ever read. I had to share it. It would be so sad if I didn't share that story with everybody. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, it would be so sad. He was one toe away from being able to be in my stories.
It's true. That's true.
So now you ruined stories for me.
No, Kiko did.
Stupid Kiko. Put him down. You know how hard it is to find Darwin Awards?
It's not, though. That's the sad part. It's harder probably.
It really is, actually.
It probably is harder for me to find superhero stories than it is for you to find Darwin Award winners.
It's sad that might be true. Mm-hmm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the time after that we beg you to stay with us. But really, why would you? Seriously. I mean, I'd like to say, hey, it's entertaining and it's fun, but well, just do it anyways.
I mean, we're entertained.
Yeah, we're entertained, and not all people suck. Like my wife continues to say, the people that follow us do not suck.
No, you don't suck.
You're fantastic.
Present company excluded.
And anybody that listens to us down the road.
Right.
So, like, follow, subscribe, comment on whatever platform you're listening to. We much appreciate it. And as we said earlier in the podcast, you can email us at
deadersurvivepodcast@gmail.com.
Let us know your thoughts, feelings, any questions, comments, concerns. If you want to let us know that that's not a superhero story, I am on your side. And now we get to the good stuff.
we get to your stuff. I don't necessarily. My stuff was pretty damn good. Kiko, I just love that dog.
Oh, I'm going to get that dog, and it's going to chew your laptop apart. All right, you ready?
I am ready.
Let's get busy.
Okay.
We've been sitting here for so long recording. Let's stand up. Let's sit down. Let's move.
No.
Or you can sit down and listen to me.
Okay, I'll do that.
But while we're talking about working out, I thought that I would bring you workout stories.
Okay. We were talking about working out when
standing up, sitting down,
okay,
moving around,
right.
all that stuff, kind of working out, getting your body moving.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So me being the old and fat one, I'm going to sit here and listen. But just so you know, I used to be a thin and healthy person, so I know what working out does. Now, if you have chosen to work out right now in the world of big buff gym people, you're probably taking supplements.
Yes, probably.
Most people take supplements, which is okay. And even if they don't take supplements, they're taking powders for like veggies, or if they're not getting enough of this, they're taking a pill for that or whatever,
Pre-workouts,
right? And that stuff can get expensive.
Yeah.
Like very expensive. So what do people do?
What do they do?
They make their own.
Oh.
So people are taking pre-workout. And what that does, the pre-workout stuff, is gets you all jacked up and ready and pumped up and ready to go. Let's go. Let's work out. Most of the pre-workouts have caffeine to help you get through that workout and get that buzz going. Most of the caffeine that goes in there is about 175 milligrams or 4 cups of coffee.
Yep.
So what a gentleman from UK, I'm going to call him Johnny UK.
Johnny.
Johnny UK. In 2022, Johnny decided that he would buy his own caffeine powder. Now, it did not come with a measuring cup or a scoop. So he decided he would use his food scale that he had in his kitchen.
Okay, sounds legit.
Sounds legit. It's all good. Johnny's got a good plan going on. So the amount usually used for caffeine in most supplements was 300 there was 175 like I told you. He decided he was going to use 300 milligrams of caffeine.
He wanted like a double jolt.
He wanted to get going.
Right.
That's about 6.5 cups of coffee.
He wanted his heart to blow up.
He did. And he thought he would really be ready to go and work out, and that's not enough to kill you, surprisingly enough.
Oh, really?
It's not. But the scale Johnny was using was not in milligrams, but grams.
Oh, that would be like a lot of powder. Wouldn't he go, this seems like an awful
lot. You would think. But then if you did that, you would stop and look and check, and you wouldn't be in my story.
That's true. Yeah.
But he did.
But that would have been like a whole pile of like
300 grams, 0.66 pounds of caffeine on a scale.
He drank over half a pound of caffeine?
With water.
Oh my God. Like at what point was he going, this isn't saving me money at all?
Well, he didn't, because he drank it. And by the way, that equivalents to 200 cups of coffee.
Oh my God.
All at once.
That must have tasted awful.
And strong coffee. He went into a caffeine overdose and did not survive. A normal person with 1 cup of coffee would have 2 to 4 milligrams per liter in their bloodstream. Johnny had 392 milligrams a liter.
I'm surprised he didn't just run all the way to the hospital.
Right? What are you doing? Nothing.
Yeah, like
you know what came to my? I'm reading.
Cartoon guys with the lights.
Well, do you know what I'm reading this? You know what came to mind? That movie with Jason Statham, Crank.
Oh, yeah.
Crank. Remember when he had to jack himself up? I'm like, maybe he should have just did that one. So, in my next story, I'm going to keep you on track of training. Training.
Oh, this one's a choo-choo train?
What? Not just taking supplements can get you killed, but sometimes advertising them as well can.
Okay.
Unless you advertise with us. So if you'd like to advertise with Dead or Survive, we will not get, and we will promote the hell out of your stuff. Seriously, we will. Nobody will get hurt. No injuries. Maybe my wife, but no major injuries. I won't hurt her. Back in January 2015, Johnny owned and made his own Johnny was a male fitness model from Burbank, California, and he wanted to shoot a commercial for an energy drink that he was co-founder of. So now he did not want to do the boring old guy in the gym, look at me, blah, 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 I drink the stuff. He wanted a unique, fantastic commercial.
Okay.
And what he wanted was not somebody, doing that. He wanted somebody that was really training. Oh, no, I read that wrong. He wanted real trains.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah, that's right. A real train.
Like, what was the train gonna do? Workouts? I don't understand.
So he wanted to take a drink from his product and then race a train.
Oh.
Only problem is, to shoot a commercial like that, believe it or not, you have to do paperwork and get permits, and it costs a lot of money. And Johnny's like, oh, forget it then. No, we're not going to do that. That's a lot of money. Forget it.
We're just going to freelance.
We're just going to trespass onto the metro train tracks.
Of course you are.
The plan was to film while running beside a train on a separate set of tracks. So the train would be on one track.
Right.
Johnny would be on the other track.
And then there's another train.
Then they would shoot a train. They would shoot it from an angle, and it would look like he was outrunning the train. But what happened was, because he didn't want to get caught, Johnny went to a blind side of the track so they could do their thing. What he didn't realize is when he ran around the bend,
there was another train.
The tracks came together.
Oh, no.
And the train was now right behind him.
Oh my God.
Okay, did you hear what I said? The train was right behind him.
Yes, I heard you.
Then the train decided to blow its whistle.
That would have scared the shit out of him.
He kept running.
What?
He did not get off the tracks. He actually had time to get off the tracks, but I don't know if he got fixated or what happened, but he stayed on the track
friggin' Clark Kent
and kept running.
Oh my gosh.
So it blew his horn, and not there. So, I guess. What kind of friend actually sits there and videotapes this, though, and doesn't say, no, this might be a bad idea? Like,
did he know the tracks came together and it was like directly behind him?
I guess. Well, he must have known it was behind him because he's running, and I don't know. I mean, you would think the tracks come together when you're running.
You would think you would see that.
Like they bend, they come. This is getting closer.
No, he was like I can outrun this train. Look at me.
I don't know what he was being, but what he is now is a Darwin Award winner.
Absolutely.
And again, back to his friend, before you interrupted me. Why didn't he say, why don't we use a computer? Yeah. Why don't we Photoshop it?
I don't know. Oh. It's all very bad planning. And now his friend has to live with that.
Well, at least he's got it on video. One more time. Let's finish our stories today with one more workout.
Okay.
Now that you got your pre-workout in you and you got your drink in you and you're energized, what else do you need?
A workout?
You need protein.
Oh, that's not for
protein. Well, some people take it before, some people take it after, some people take it before and after. Some people take it before, then they have a nap, or workout, take the protein, have a nap, take protein, get up and work out again. It all depends on what level you're at.
Well, I certainly wouldn't be that level ever.
Yeah. Well, there's some people that do this for a living.
That's true.
I'm sure if you talk to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he probably did a lot of napping protein, steroids, napping protein. Just kidding. Not really. Anyways, in February 2022, early morning, Johnny was driving on the outskirts of San Diego. Without warning, he pulled right off the road and right over to the lanes and caused a 6-car pileup.
He just ran right in front of everybody?
Yep. Went straight across the whole, I don't know if it was interstate or highway. It said outskirts of San Diego, so I don't know. It didn't say if it was a highway or not, but 6-car pileup. It was
obviously busy enough that there were 6 cars present.
Right. Now, do you think it was too much caffeine?
I don't know. It was obviously something to do with protein.
Do you think it was too much supplement energy drink and it got him all jittery?
He had to poop.
Do you think he was looking at his phone?
What was it?
Maybe it was so early in the morning he just fell asleep.
Could be.
Hey, any of those?
But you said protein.
Or maybe he was trying to open up a protein pack with his teeth and was pouring it into the cup of water that he was holding between his legs, and then was trying to stir it with the knife that was left in his car.
What is wrong with people?
I'll give you a minute. You can pick.
I'm going to go with the last one.
Well, you get a cookie. Look at you. Good
Is it
job.
a protein cookie?
It's a protein cookie. Yes, absolutely. So when the rescue team showed up, they found protein powder, water, drink everywhere. And the knife Johnny was using to stir it was in his chest.
Oh, no. How did that happen?
When he got distracted by trying to open up the protein and put it in and stir it, he crashed. When he crashed, the airbag went off, and the knife, the way it was in there, jabbed right into his chest and killed him. Thankfully, nobody else in the crash was killed.
Yeah.
And you wonder why I like my lazy boy.
Yeah, well, I'm glad nobody else died in the crash because that would have made it so much worse.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have made it, it's not good
terrible
that
still,
somebody died, but yeah, that would have made it way, way worse. Look at that. I'm getting messages. That's already fans texting. Those are my favorite fans.
Kiko too.
Yeah. No, they didn't. All right. Are you ready for the dad joke?
I am indeed.
I can cut a piece of wood in half just by looking at it.
Oh, really?
It's true. I saw it with my own eyes. That one's amazing.
Well, you liked it.
I did like it. I thought it was funny. It was hilarious. I read it and I'm like, screenshot that puppy. That's going on the podcast. It made me giggle. I don't have much of a sense of humor, people. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Dead or Survive. Remember to sleep with your shoes on and your eyes open so your dogs don't bite your toes, and have yourself a fantastic week.
Bye.